So you told the attorneys not to come?
Yeah,
Okay.
because if you have to pick one meeting,
Mhm.
and next meeting, there's all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
There's, planning commission, economic development commission, council meeting,
That's on the 20th?
yeah.
I think I'll be out of town.
Well, good, just make sure you have
Okay.
FaceTime, something.
I'll be,
The only thing I didn't check was.
How far will you be? We'll just have our meeting remote.
I'll be out of the country.
Good, where's, hey,
Out there
where
on
we
all that,
going?
and when I come on, you know,
They have been-
We're following Angie.
Yeah,
every.
I'm going to London next month.
Rear window.
Where?
Next month.
Where?
London.
I wanna go.
I thought he said Lebanon, and I was like,
Whenever you
No,
look
not
at it.
Lebanon.
what kind of fighting's going on
No,
there?
in Lebanon. in
London.
Oh.
London, I've been there, I love it.
You know, at about 11 PM, these trucks, food trucks come out in London, and you get the best fish and chips in the world at night.
Kebabs, which are just like those big like
So-
euros.
There's a chat.
Absolutely, they have kebab trucks, all those fish and chip trucks.
Thank you.
Best
To
food
be
I
honest
had.
with you, as I was saying, most of the food is not good, but those things are.
Yeah, the
that's why I
fish and
know
chips.
about them.
Out of the trucks.
Yeah, and death by, if you get a chance to have death by chocolate cake there,
I didn't have those.
oh, or scones, they're fresh
The only time
scones.
I've ever been there, I thought, so I'm cutting.
He wasn't visiting the food truck.
When I studied in Europe this semester, I gained 30 pounds. I did, wow, yeah.
Well, hey, it's 7 o'clock.
Where's my clock?
According to my clock, it's 7 o'clock, so if everybody would please, stand and join us in starting the meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for joining us this evening. And Yvonne, would you have the pleasure, roll call?
Angela Farnow,
Here.
Brandon Bassler.
Here.
Mr. Bill Niemeyer,
Here?
Chris Lytle.
Here.
Clint Bledsoe.
Here.
Thank you very much. We obviously have a quorum, and we'll just jump right into the agenda. First item is consideration of the minutes from our June 15th meeting as presented in the background materials. Is there a motion regarding the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes or suggested edits? They look fine to me. All those in favor of approving the minutes from our meeting of June 15th as presented, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
I will abstain since I was not here.
Well, then how about if we'll go 4-0-1
Okay.
on the scorecard,
Sounds good,
which is good enough.
yes.
The minutes are approved. Are there any suggested new agenda items this evening? Okay, our old business is kind of running into new business because the first item is a continuation from the last meeting, so you could have put it wherever you wanted, old business or new business. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the Commonwealth MS4 overview. And Mr. Dryer?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here tonight. I've got, some business cards I'll hand out, pass those down, as well as, some flyers for
Okay.
you to hand out.
Would you like the podium by any chance?
That's okay. I'll just,
Okay.
I can just float.
We
like-
have one.
I
We'll
see the
grab it.
Wabash College like a professor. I'll go just back and
Yeah,
forth.
just stand there and lecture us, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, I've been, in discussions with the town for several weeks now, a few months actually, about assisting with the municipal separate storm sewer system. I know that's a mouthful, so from here on, we'll just call it MS4. And really what that is, ladies and gentlemen, is really dealing with stormwater quality for versus quantity. So this was put into place by our friends at EPA at the end of the nineties, early 2000s. On about, the beginning of 2000, then our friends at the state of Indiana, the Department of Environmental Management, they were required to move ahead with rulemaking and then put this MS4 program for municipalities under a rule by the name of Rule 13. So many of your neighbors are also MS4s, as you might imagine. Indianapolis, Greenfield, the Hancock County itself is an MS4. But we've got a new thing that we have to deal with because, again, the US EPA again basically came in and told the state, IDEM, that we can't have you permitting all these entities under the rule. You now have to have a general permit. So back in about 2018, IDEM started developing this general permit. Yours truly and a lot of permitted entities were on a work group in order to develop and refine the language of that general permit. That just became effective December 18th of 2021. It took forever to get EPA approval as things commonly do, but we finally got there. And then the past few months, and I know, worked a lot with Jim as well as Nyla as well to implement and discuss how the town might implement this program. But we've been to conferences and so forth together, but really the first step to initiate our permit term was a notice of intent, and that required a public notice on your website. It also required filling out a form documenting different receiving streams around the town, what impacts are those streams like bacteria and things like that. So we worked together, we got that submitted, we got a public notice done on the website. So all that's good to go. However, we're on a 5-year term, and that's just the first step of the process. So as we've been discussing with both Jim and Nyla, how can we help you guys? There are a lot of kind of old but yet new requirements. So for example, we've got a public education, outreach, involvement, and participation, it's a mouthful, component whereby we work with the Hancock County Stormwater Group to implement different things. We have, public outreach activities, booths and things like that. Whereas now, that was kind of under the old rule, but now we need to target things. We need to target things like litter, and we need to target things like, dog poo getting in our streams and things like that, and look at different facets of your customer base or the residents in town, commercial, residential, industrial, and all that. We've also got a part of it called illicit discharge detection and elimination, another mouthful, but basically what that is looking around and making sure that folks are aware when they see a storm inlet or when they see an outfall that discharges to a stream, that if you've got oil going in there, that's not good. That needs to be reported to the town. Then the town needs to come up with different, response procedures, if you will, as to how you would address that, and trace it back to the source, address that with the property owner, customer, whoever, that may be. The other thing that's common, we all like fast food, and a greasy spoon from time to time. The bins, the waste bins, the grease bins behind places, very common to see those leaking in parking lots, getting in storm sewers and things like that. So those are the things that we're trying to generate an awareness for, as well as implement internal town processes that we can implement and respond accordingly and address. And keep in mind, as I talk through all these kind of different points, is that IDEM does come and check on us. We get audits periodically, and we want to make sure that, it will never be perfect, nothing ever is, but we want to make sure we do our due diligence, and we've gone through the steps to update our program. There's another element while we're talking about kind of town facilities, streets and things like that. We've got good housekeeping. So that would be like your street garage, the wastewater plant, things of that nature. We need to make sure that we have pollution prevention plans updated and in place for those facilities, such that we, prohibit the discharge of chemicals, fertilizers, oil, and stuff like that to our receiving streams. There's also, as far as, the town employees, gonna be training that's required, whether or not they're, temporary, seasonal, or full-time employees, in terms of when they get trained and what they get trained on. Those are kind of things that need to be updated. Something I think that's very important to consider and think about for this community, that's another MS4 element, is going to be basically your construction and post-construction. We've obviously got a lot of development going on. We have a responsibility as a town, and Jim does, basically to go out and inspect facilities, make sure the erosion control fence, silt fences, and those kinds of practices are being implemented properly, such that we avoid the discharge of, particularly sediment to our receiving streams. There's another part of that that's called post-construction. What that is our detention ponds and basins and things like that, things that are owned by the town, and when we have to inspect those to make sure that they're working properly, that they can overflow properly, that they're not gonna back up, and that things that are intended to capture pollutants and sediment are in place, and those would be kind of like drainage swales and things like that. So those are kind of the big requirements. Now with that, we have, in order to embody these things, it's not just kind of that notice of intent I talked about. Of course, we have to generate reports that document how we're gonna do that. One of the things is basically a stormwater quality management plan, where we talk about how we're gonna meet each one of these things. The other thing we have to do is a water quality characterization report. So we have to do that as well. That's due, and that's where we've got kind of a table of when things are due that all of us have been operating on. And that's actually gonna be due January 5th of next year. So we basically have 6 months to get that into IDEM. The other components, there was, I think on your agenda, I saw a reference to LTAP, and that would be the Local Technical Assistance Program. We're gonna work with the town to implement ordinances, and that's for both your construction site runoff stuff as well as post-construction, such that our ordinances are updated to meet, the new state standards. And I know you're probably thinking, well, we just updated that not too long ago. Well, it's time to do it again. And while we did know of some of these things, weren't sure what would change. So until you get that final permit, from IDEM, that's when you can really start moving to make some of these changes to your program. The other component is we're required to do annual reports. That's basically, they call measurable objectives. That's, if we said we're gonna do this, how do we meet that? How do we measure it? So those are things that, we can certainly help the town with for compliance. This MS4 program, I will say it's common for cities and towns to get some assistance up front, particularly when we have, you gotta think about it, we've not had a new permit in 20 years, right? Things are bound to change, and they have, and they're on us, and now we have a schedule. So now it comes down to the fact, how we're gonna meet those requirements and controls moving forward. To document that, we have an annual report that's due to the state. So, that's something that Commonwealth can help with as well. So that was a very high-level overview. If you step through this little brochure, this basically kind of goes through the things that I went through as far as what are the changes, what's really required to be submitted, what's required to be updated, kind of how it works. The good thing is, for New Pal, good and bad, is that you've dealt with this program for a long time. Like I said, since maybe 2003-ish. So you've already got things in place that just need to be updated. There are a lot of folks out there that this is brand new to them because of census data. They were just notified by the state that, hey, you're gonna have to comply with all this stuff. That has to do with, what your population is, if it's 10,000 or more, if you're in an urbanized area, which is where we are and why we're designated, I believe. So you've got kind of several things that put you into this classification. So while, it's too bad the ship sailed, we can't get out of it. However, we know where we need to go from here. We've got some good things in place that Nyla and Jim have worked on over the years.
Brady, I have a question.
Sure.
In the materials, you indicated that, it's kind of a target cost or an estimated cost for everything, that it would be $41,000. And when I look look at the chart that has the breakdown, the
Right.
itemization of the expenses, the first one is a flat fee or a lump
It
sum,
is.
then the rest of them are hourly.
Yes.
So your estimates, are those conservative to where the number's gonna end up being a lot higher? Or is that kind of a high end and you hope the final number comes in lower? How close to 41,000 will we be when the
That's a good
program's
question.
done?
And you pointed out that the notice of intent is the lump sum, that's done, that's what we've incurred basically to date, helping you out in advance of those discussions today. But you're spot on, Bill, that the, rest of it would be incurred hourly. And how our contracts work is that if we get into something that's kind of beyond our scope or something that's gonna take longer than expected, we get to a certain point, I think it's 90 or 95% of that amount, and we would notify you. But I feel like I've scoped this very reasonable based on review of your program. Excuse me, when we started this, I think Thomas and I and another fellow that works with me, Andrew, walked out with several bankers boxes full of stuff. So in other words, we know where you stand and what you need to update, so I think we're pretty spot on that estimate.
And not the first one to walk out with banker boxes.
Yeah.
We did it legally.
Thank you.
I hope.
Bill, I'll speak to that 40, whatever it is. Originally, their cost came in at like one lump sum of 55,000. And that was a big pill for us to swallow, assumingly. MS4 has become more complicated, you can thank the state for that. So when we talk about the hourly, there's a lot of things that Nyla and I do. We do a lot of housekeeping, we take our pictures, we do the reports, Nyla does the education process. There were some filled out numbers that, we felt like we could justify and do a lot of it ourselves. So I would like to continue to do as much as we can up until when we need them. So it's more of an as-needed basis, to get us through, making sure we're always compliant. There's a lot of municipalities that they actually employ an MS4, that's all he does, that's it. So we don't have that luxury, so I think asking for the hourly and just being receptive of the bills that come in, I think it's probably the best way we can do it, so.
Jim, maybe I'm way off, just naive and thinking this, was there ever any looked at any grants or anything, cause it was kinda like a federal EPA thing, they're trying to force us to do that? Is there
Well,
anything, if you look at anything in that?
Yeah, it's been in play, like he said, since probably late 90s. The town, we had to adopt this in 2003.
They've changed it now, right? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
They
tried
just-
to get out of it, but they wouldn't let us.
They wouldn't, yeah. And actually, the small, when we talk about small towns, the small town of Sweetwater,
Pretty small.
they had to adopt it this year, and they, what is it?
Cordry and
Spring
Sweetwater.
Lake.
Spring
Spring
Lake,
Lake.
Spring Lake, the little town of
Yeah.
Spring Lake, and they don't have a council, I think they have
Oh, man.
what
They
do
have a
they have
council.
there? It's just, I feel for
I
them.
think they have a
Yeah.
council, but it's a handful of
HOA,
houses.
basically,
Okay.
yeah. So they've been sprung on them this year, so.
Well, what do our MS fees pay for?
Our MS,
MS4 fees are $5.
our stormwater,
not much.
yeah. Well, actually, right now, we do have, I think, about 125,000 in now. It fluctuates,
Uh-huh.
Countryside wiped us out that year, fixing that one tile, but, I don't know.
And
what-
just now you did some repairs
Yeah, we've
that
done-
were
yeah, we-
stormwater
yep.
related.
Yes,
Cedar Creek, yeah.
so
Okay.
that's somewhere we should be able to fund it from now, a little bit
Yes,
at a time. so.
That's what how long is this $41,000, over how much time do you suppose we'll
Couple
incur
years.
that?
It is, that's something
Yeah.
that we discussed previously, is with all of the milestones and dates and the schedule, it'll string us out a couple of years.
Okay, so over like 3 years or so?
Okay, so at least we don't have to write a check for that.
Absolutely. It's as incurred, you'll get monthly invoices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? We probably need a motion. Anybody care to make a motion regarding Commonwealth's MS4 proposal?
We tried to implement there, I mean, we would have it not do it?
You could try to do it for us.
Yeah.
Well, if we'll be in compliance, it's a lot of fines.
Yes.
Oh, Probably better not go with me. I guess I will make a motion to implement the Commonwealth, for exactly with a MS4 overview there.
I'll second that. So then we have a motion and a second. Now it's open for discussion. Are there any questions or comments regarding Commonwealth's MS4 overview and their estimate regarding the cost?
Well, I guess my question was on those, that fee is that gonna be able to sustain this program? About the $5 fee? Yeah.
But it will definitely help.
Uh,
And we still have some repairs, you know.
Yeah, that was my only question. I mean, I agree with what they're gonna do. I don't know if we have an option. EPA tells us to do it, what can we do?
Yeah, it really, it kind of
That's
boils
what-
down to that. You know,
That's why I was wondering if there's any kind of like grant we could try to apply for, because they just sprung it on us, what are we supposed to do?
And they won't let us, apparently they won't let us opt out.
I know, so I didn't know if there was anything, government likes to give away money, so.
Well,
It is, and I'm not sure when our audit is, but it will be coming up, right? Because when we went to the MS4 down there off Shadeland, there's a lot of municipalities there, and they're making appointments for so we're gonna get an audit down at the wastewater plant, you know, any paperwork that we have, it's just a matter of time. So we've been skating along, but, you know, now items made it that much more difficult, so.
okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and thank you. We appreciate your assistance.
Thank you.
And we're glad you know
Thank you.
what you're doing, cause we don't. And we don't have to.
That's right. We'll take good care of you.
Absolutely, we appreciate that. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the bond council engagement letter that is presented in the background materials. Ted's not here this evening to answer any specific questions, but I have read the letter. So we are being requested to consider Kroger, Gardis, and Regis's proposal to serve as bond counsel on the $5 million TIF project with the Behovic project. And what I saw, the most important thing, the first thing that caught my eye was they're providing the services at a flat fee of $75,000. And if I recall from what I've seen, the bond project that was for the hospital, the attorney fees were maybe just under 100,000, 90 something.
It's about 100.
Yeah. So, you know, at least with this firm, the price is a little bit lower. So that's what I pulled out of the engagement letter. And also knowing that they will monitor each of the required events and make sure that we're following the sequence, the time frame, and most importantly, all of the legal requirements are satisfied so that you know, nothing procedurally is inappropriate.
I have a question, so, you know, you said that if all this goes, this is not what we're doing until October, that would be the date when you're actually gonna have to sign off. I mean, if we don't go through with this, are we gonna still have to pay this money?
Well, if at some point we stopped the project, we would pay them up to date. I mean, I don't know that they would expect to be paid $75,000 for, cause that fee is for everything from beginning to end. But it does say that it's a flat fee. So I guess if we cancel today, or if if we sign this today, we cancel tomorrow, could be a windfall, but I wouldn't expect that.
Can I make a quick comment?
Absolutely.
This came across my desk today, or I was looking at it, well, I happened to be on the phone with Jared.
Uh-huh.
And he had, Jim Treat with him, the one who did our, last training about TIF. And they both seemed that, said that it seemed a little high, that usually around, you know, between $50,000 and $65,000, they seemed that $75,000 was a little high. So, just wanna put that out there, I don't know anything else beyond that, but.
Could they tell us why the hospital one was 100?
Could they tell us the other ones that we could probably buy at prices from?
Yes, but you probably won't like it.
No, no.
That's what Jared said.
No.
So, I just wanted to, you know, just let you know that I was looking at this, I had him on the phone, I just said, hey, look, is this a going price, where does this kind of fall? And they both said, well, it seems a little high. Mind you, at some point Ted asked me how much we had paid for the other TIF bond.
Yeah, and I don't remember if that was
So that's probably a
Eisner or
comparison
Barnes and
point.
Thornburg,
That's
whoever.
Barnes and Thornburg.
Farms and
Yeah,
farms.
and they're
Yeah.
certainly more expensive.
Well, that might be a good question, what happens if, we part ways?
Exactly.
Cause it's not called out there the way I see it.
Yeah, it says that it's a flat fee, so, you know,
It says we can terminate them, but it doesn't say we can terminate them and not pay them. It says they can terminate us if we don't pay them.
I think we're having a discussion before you sign it.
Yeah. We have a nice lot of attorneys here.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Having the attorney here to answer the questions, I would
Oh,
have waited and
and-
put it on the next agenda.
You know, they will be here at our next meeting, July 20th, so
So table it till then,
you wanna make a motion?
make a motion to table this until the attorneys are here to give us some explanations on that fee.
Okay,
I'll second that.
it has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or comments regarding the motion to table? Other than, I think it's a good idea, and we'll have them here at the next meeting, and I'm not aware of any urgency between tonight versus the 20th, so.
Yeah, I just wondered if that would be like, you know, if it was 30% was done, or 10% was done, or you know.
It's worth
and half-
asking.
and half, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay, well, all those in favor of tabling this matter until our next meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries, and please put this on the agenda for July 20th. And then when we have folks from the law firm here, we can ask them questions.
Yvonne, did they say Bose McKinney?
Yes.
Moving along, the next item on the agenda is consideration of the New Palestine Chamber of Commerce Annual Golf Outing. Who has information regarding that item?
I didn't put it on there. Well, we have our annual golf outing with the chamber, and you know the date, is it
It's next.
The
July
13th.
July 13th? So, we're gonna schedule up, I think, Brenda's interested, Jenny, are you interested?
Yeah.
And Nyla?
And one of the police officers.
Maybe if we can't wait.
That's okay. I
Looking
happened
for a
to,
shoe-in.
Or Bob?
I spoke with,
I'll go play golf.
I spoke with Wade. And just kinda put it out there for him to.
Sounds to me like we'll be able to field a foursome.
What we're, yeah,
Is that,
yeah.
well, Bob, while you check with Wade,
Wade is off duty, if he wants to go play, he's more than welcome.
okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just jump right in. I will make a motion that the town assemble a foursome and participate in the Chamber of Commerce Annual Golf Outing. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion regarding the item? You get the opportunity to wear a grass skirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, flat now.
Pictures, please.
All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and please help us assemble a foursome and we'll participate in that event. Should be fun for all. Next item on our agenda is help me with the pronunciation.
Vergy?
Vergy?
Very.
Thank you, Vergy Energy Savings Project. Welcome back.
How are you folks?
Fine, thanks.
I'm gonna give you an extra copy for your attorney.
Okay,
They always like to see.
sure, thank you.
Thank you.
So thanks for your time. I was here a couple of months ago, and you guys were kind enough to let us do a utility and a building assessment for you. So if you take out again, this is what I kind of gave you before, but on the left-hand side of your packet, there's guaranteed savings legislation, state of Indiana, IC-36-1-12.5. Allows you guys to go out and do these guaranteed projects through the state. And they are guaranteed. I also want to reiterate that any money involved here, you're already spending the money. So all we're trying to do is spend it more efficiently for you. So our programs, we're not asking you to spend new money, you're already spending it. We're just trying to help you spend it more efficiently. So if we get into the details of your situation, so if you look on your right-hand side at this document, again, the objective, collaborate with the county of Palestine to develop energy conservation measures that decrease energy usage, reduce utility costs, and improve facility operations. So the project highlights, after looking at your utility information, you know, the biggies here were potentially putting some solar at Town Hall and also down at the wastewater treatment plant. Any LED lighting here, you've done a little bit here, but any place that you haven't done the LEDs, we would recommend doing that. You might also want to consider some of the older fixtures that just have the old plastic lenses on. There's a new, what's called a volumetric light fixture that you see in a lot of office settings now. It really kind of jazzes things up a little bit. We did them at City of Shelbyville. We impacted probably about 15 buildings for them and put in these volumetric light fixtures, and they really kind of jazz things up. So there's a possibility of doing that, but if we might just do bulb replacement. And then another one of the biggies is the LED street lighting conversion. All your Duke lighting, so not the black ones down kind of the central core here, but any of the bulbous looking Duke street lights, we'd be retrofitting those to a flatter, you've probably seen them in some other communities, a flatter fixture, a lot more light level, and the energy savings is tremendous. So that really helps fund some of this other stuff. So if you look at, on the front here, it just talks about, again, the two solar opportunities that we're talking about. One's at the wastewater treatment plant, potentially offsetting 40% of your electric there, and then also here at Town Hall, potentially offsetting about 33% of your electric usage here as well. Potential project cost of about $725,000, and we have a 20-year of cost avoidance of $900,000 and some change. So pretty significant. If you look at next page, it shows the wastewater treatment plant. Now, I talked to Jim about this. I know you've got a renovation that's going to be going on down there and some additional wastewater plant coming down in that area. So that might not be the place that we put it. It might be up more towards the one building that's kind of towards the top of the picture here. To the left of that, there's some available land that we might be able to put it instead. But anyway, that same size of array, we'd probably be able to put up there as well and still offset the same amount of electric up there. And then second page shows a picture of Town Hall and what we were talking about doing here at Town Hall. So these projects are really simple. And I also put behind, there's a copy of an RFQ. So the next step, if you guys wanted to move forward, this is a request for qualification that you advertise in the paper. This follows the state statutes.
very boilerplate. That's why I always give to the town attorney, because they always wanna look at them. But, this is what you'd advertise in the newspaper. You'd advertise 2 consecutive weeks. You'd get responses back 37 days from the time of the first ad. And then you pick a company to move forward with, hopefully us. If I flunk, I'm in bad shape. We just did one for Ripley County, where we went through an evaluation process. There's a nice evaluation on the last page of this thing. It really helps you kind of grade the responses that you get back. But I talked to folks. I put Shelbyville's case study in here. They just did a project that's been completed about a year and a half. I always tell people, hey, call Tom DeBon, the mayor up there, or Jenny Meltzer as the city attorney. They'd give us some glowing recommendations. But I'm working with Decatur County right now, Ripley County right now. We've done a project down in North Vernon, where they actually rebranded themselves as the Solar City of Indiana. So this is really kind of a nice economic development tool for you as well. I also put on here, and we talked about it last time I was here, potentially with a couple electric charging stations, maybe somewhere along the main route here, if we could find a place for them. And also, we'd look at your fleet costs as well. So we have a relationship with Enterprise Fleet. They look at your fleet and see how you're spending not only maintenance, fuel, and also whether you're leasing and buying, and they can come up with a real good plan to potentially save you guys some money and get you vehicles more frequently, newer vehicles more frequently.
I have a question here. You have this cost of $725,000. It's gonna save you a couple $100,000 or whatnot total. Is there other costs, like when over 20 years, that's a long period of time, if there's break or something happens, I mean.
Solar, yeah, but so there's a
Probably
maintenance, it's a very small maintenance cost. So the size that we're talking about here, you'd have a maintenance cost of a couple $1,000s a year. That would cover anything that would potentially go wrong with the solar panels.
Is that in addition to the $725,000?
It's included in the cost.
Oh, okay.
That would be included in the cost.
Okay.
Yeah, and typically there's inverters on there. I don't know if you know anything about solar or not, but
Very little.
that's kind of the only moving
Oh,
part.
do you use a sign or something?
I
do that part.
That's kind of the only moving part. There's really not a whole heck of a lot that can go wrong with these things.
And is that pretty, I mean, is this, the savings pretty, are you gonna, pretty sure it could be like 40%, or, I mean,
Yeah.
or is
So
that just an overestimating?
So what I'm doing is I'm guaranteeing the savings. So the state of Indiana, I
Okay.
have to do an auditing process with the state each year. So what happens is I get your bills. So if I say I'm gonna save you $1, and I only save you 90 cents, I have to write you a check. So that gets audited each year.
Yeah, and that is something that Ted pointed out, that it's a guaranteed savings, and if you don't save whatever is guaranteed, then you get back the difference.
So you're guaranteed to save $200,000?
That's what it looks like, cause
Yeah,
it
I know,
costs
I
you
got serious
$700.
doubts about that.
That's what was.
Because those projections, all the projections I've seen lately haven't been worth the paper they're written on.
That's what he was saying, though, he was guaranteeing. He was-
Yeah, I know.
That's why.
I wonder what that guarantee means.
It means that I have to make it whole if I don't meet it. It's real simple.
Okay, what happens if on the roof of town hall, if the roof starts leaking and all those have to be taken off to replace the roof and put back on? Is that all included in that?
The thing about your roof is we're gonna ballast up here. We're not gonna be penetrating any.
No, not that you cause it, just
But
say
it-
you have to replace the roof.
I always wondered about that on houses and stuff, how you replace
Well,
the
that's-
roof
that-
that stuff's sitting on.
That's why we do a ballast situation instead of penetrating your roof, because if we had to take it off, and we had already screwed it and everything else, it's a lot easier to get off. If we can take it off if you had to do any roof repairs.
But is that included in the cost, or would that be something that would be extra?
That'd probably be extra, yes. Yeah.
What's it cost to
To-
take them off and put them back?
I could get you an idea, but for this size, it wouldn't be exorbitant. It really wouldn't.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, and we get into we also look at the roof too, because a lot of times if you need a new roof, this is a really good time to do that as well. But I think your roof's in pretty decent shape, so.
It better be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, what about hail damage? How do these hold up to that?
Yeah, so occasionally there's damage, but man, it would have to be like a meteor to do damage, and
We got
that's,
that handled.
There you go.
yeah, it's included, so.
Oh, it's included.
Yeah, and what also happens too is there's a slight insurance, cost increase, because again, you're putting an asset on your building. So there's a slight increase, but it's not exorbitant.
Okay,
Ricker, it's easily movable if we had a new town hall come into play.
Again, with the ballast thing, it's a lot easier than if they're screwed on.
well, thank you for the information, and, you know, the memorandum that we received does say, and you know, the request for qualifications is exactly what they said, that town attorney has advised that if we're gonna pursue it, we have to put out the request for proposals, see if anyone else bids,
Oh, yeah.
exactly like you said.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that you can just award, and it gets because of the size of the project, you have to open it up to public bidding, so.
And that document meets anything that you need to do. And
Well, where did you come up with the projected cost and then the avoided energy cost?
off your utility bills, so we can do it straight depending upon how much, you know, how much solar we're actually putting in, and then how much, we've done a ton of these projects, so.
Well, my electric bill is double what it was last year, so how? I mean,
Here's the little,
You might not be guaranteeing anything.
Here's the little caveat, the state of Indiana's average utility rate increase over this last 20 years has been 6.9%. Average.
I know the average.
Okay,
the
so-
Inflation rate right now is 8.5%, but everything's 50 and 100% more.
I agree, but these utility companies are not doing any favors, so what we're trying to help you
Not doing any
do,
favors.
what we're trying to help you do is become more independent. You're never gonna be able to totally get away from them, but we're trying to help you be a little bit more independent with these projects.
So theoretically, if the price keeps going up, there'd be more savings, is that correct?
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, yeah. that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, they're not
I
gonna
mean,
go down.
projections,
And
estimates.
Indiana is deregulated, so Ohio is regulated, so Ohio, Michigan, and Illinois are deregulated. So just give you an example, my daughter goes over to Ohio University for college, and I was helping her buy groceries, I turned the corner, there's a kid selling electric power at a little kiosk, a little college kid selling. You can do that in Ohio, you can buy from various sources, in Indiana, you're stuck.
Yeah, I do.
And that's not changing anytime soon, so. This is trying to help you get ahead of the game, it really is. This is a great little project for you guys, so.
Okay, well.
Bill, what I would like to do is maybe get a hold of some of the people that you've worked with.
You bet.
Talk to, like Michelle,
Sure.
just to get a little more into this, you know.
Well, and again, if we're going to pursue it, we do have to go through the statutory request for proposal process, so, you know, it's not like we can't do a lot today, other than.
Well, you'd make a
start
so,
the process.
do your due diligence, and then, maybe I can come back in I don't know about next meeting, but whenever you guys deem it is appropriate, make a motion to move forward with the thing, we put some dates to the RFQ. It all the RFQ and responses and everything have to go through the administration, so I'm just helping you do that, and that little exercise that we did and this, if you hired an architect or engineer to do that, probably cost you 15-20 grand, so.
Well, we're glad we didn't spend that.
So, at this point, you know, there's been no cost to you guys, it's all been on our nickel, but, it's kind of the cost of doing business, so.
Sure. Okay, thoughts?
I mean, I think it'd like to, obviously keep pursuing it. I mean,
Keep pursuing it, so,
What is your thought?
I mean, I was a little bit hesitant until I saw the statutory language that says, if you enter into this guaranteed energy savings contract and you don't get the level of savings that was represented, they have to refund the difference.
Who
So,
refunds the difference?
We do.
Very
What
Whatever.
happens if you're not in business 2 years from now?
So, if you look at.
I know, I'm not looking at that, cause I've
Okay.
seen them projected stuff, and these are, every one of these projections I've seen isn't worth the paper it's written on.
I'm not.
So what happens, I mean, how solid's your company, at least today?
We're gonna do about $500 million, we're in 10 states, I mean, we're a big viable company, we're not going out of business tomorrow.
Well, yeah.
We're not-
Kmart said the
For the
same thing.
foreseeable
That's what
future,
Kmart said.
for the foreseeable future, we're going to be here. But I guarantee, here's one thing I'll tell you, is even if we went away and the guarantee went away, whatever projections that we're gonna make for you are gonna be made.
And another thing, now this is just a personal thing of mine, why would we put in electrical charging stations when we don't put any gas stations?
When you don't do what?
We don't put any gas stations. Why wouldn't we put in electrical charging stations?
It's potentially an economic development tool for you, depending upon.
I'd rather have an economic development tool for somebody else.
Well,
I like the charging station.
I know you do.
well, and my understanding of the charging stations is whoever the vehicle owner is, when you pull up to a charging station, you pay $20 or
Yep.
$30 for an hour charge. It's not free.
It's true.
So.
The whole point of these places putting them in is to get business, so.
And
draw people.
Culver's out on 74, the new one up in
The whole
Shelbyville's
point
got
of
like
putting them in is
6
to
of
take
them,
up two
so.
parking places right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a freight train, whether, we
I
can
know.
resist it and everything else, but it's here and it's gonna be
They're
here.
eventually gonna get here.
Yeah, so,
Questions, you're gonna wait till the questions?
I think we should wait to the public comment
Yeah.
section, but we're almost there. But.
Well, thank you guys, I appreciate it, and why don't I'll communicate with Jim, and then I'll just find out from him, he can do, you guys, and again, feel free to call, you can call Shelbyville, or I can get you whoever, I've got a list of 50 customers that you can call, if you'd like that, I'll get that to Jim.
Get that to Jim.
Yeah, and then, do whatever due diligence you need to do, and then I'll call him
Thank you.
about coming back and.
Sure, I
Yeah.
mean, I agree with Chris, fundamentally, it sounds like, it's gonna save you a little bit, save anything, it's better than not saving at all. So, okay,
Thank you guys very much.
thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's move right into department reports. Start with you, Jim, what do you have to share this evening?
I really don't have anything new, like I said, we did some stormwater work over at, Crystal Heights, and I think we're one and done, we're out of there. We did some ditch work over at, Harding Farms, and those, of course, it hadn't rained, but the water level should be down. We had a ditch, that whole tile by the railroad track cleaned out, and, we have some plans in case it continues, so, all right, that's about it.
Thank you, Bob.
I told you last time we were gonna try to look into the, vehicles again, so we got some, feelers out. I did speak with, Mark Wright from, Kelly Chevrolet out of Fort Wayne. They're the Chevy state bid dealer. I went ahead and put one on hold, not bought, but hold. They only have 6 left, and that's for the rest of this year. So, town has one on hold, pending when we have our budget to see whether or not we can actually afford it. But, we have one in our name just being held for right now. Bloomington Ford reached back out to me, and they have nothing until next year, and they don't expect their bills to, they probably even have 2023s, they probably have 2024, so get another year maybe, so.
Okay, well, we'll certainly defer to Yvonne on that one.
When
Anything
are
else?
we doing that budget?
It's my turn to speak.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'd say we just make room in the budget for that car, so.
Well, I think there will be, cause I think.
Yeah, I know.
We got one lease paid off this year, so we should, but we'll still call,
Okay.
Or
thank
truck,
you.
or whatever you have to buy.
yeah.
Steve,
I really don't have anything.
that's fine, you don't have to, we appreciate that.
I would like, I guess, I do have one thing.
Uh-oh.
I would like to quickly say that I would like to thank Hancock County and McCordsville for, pitching in with, barricades and street signs and,
For the Summerfest.
really helping out with, Summerfest when we had to do a close out 52. And they have done that every year we've had to do it, so.
Well, if there's ever anything that we can do to repay the favor, I don't know what that might be, but
If they ask, well,
we'll try.
have to do it.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Okay, I have a question for Steve. What's going on Bittner Bridge? What are they doing? Can you put down gravel and?
Yeah, I went and talked to Gary a few weeks ago about that. He said the bridge rating is, the bridge rates, okay, they rate them every 2 years. The sufficiency rating is good on the bridge, but the surface does not rate so well. So he's looking at different types of treatments. I think this is just a Band-Aid for now. But he did. So I'll touch base with him again and see what his potentially long range plans, you know, a lot more than what he put on there needs done,
Gravel and oil.
so.
Can you remind him that we're getting ready to start construction and that's gonna pick up some traffic there? So ask us to kind of speed up that process and decide what he's gonna do.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's been some communication online, concern from people, in the community about it. The bridge and,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
hear about the bridge all the time.
I bet. I bet.
Have brought to council different things, the different options that we had, and was always told it's a county bridge, so I've taken it to the county.
Yeah.
And if anybody's been driving around the county, the guy's got so many dollars, and with everything going on, the Mount Comfort I-70 corridor, he's just,
Sure.
got a lot of infrastructure, things to keep up with, so.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep.
Yvonne?
Budget starting, first pre-budget meeting is on, Wednesday next week. That doesn't involve anybody but me and Jared, just to have a first look at, where we currently are. I just reconciled June, so that's one of the prerequisites before we can even start, thinking about, the budget for the coming year, so we're getting there. It'll be a process, we'll do similar that we did last year, where we'll sit down with, all the department heads and a couple of you, as council members, and we'll just kinda go through and see where the needs are. If you know of something upcoming for next year, be prepared with all your notes, kinda start taking those notes down, so that when we do get together, we're all kinda ready to jump in it. I'm worried about what old Bob's gonna say.
We run this town.
But, yeah, so we're starting, and that's really all I've got, everything else is relatively in good shape. At some point, Bill, I have an issue with a report that I gotta do for the ARPA funds, on which I may need your help, cause I think you're technically listed as the contact person, and they won't give me access to what I need to do, you have to do it.
Okay.
So I will get with you on that.
Let me know, cause
Yeah.
if it means I come in and we do it together,
Yeah,
then
it's-
that's what we'll do.
It's a pain in the tuchus, and it's been a long time coming, but that's what we're now theorizing is the whole life.
Okay, let me know.
Okay.
And then also, if there's any way that I can ask them to.
Oh, there's no asking the treasury, it's a matter of doing all the steps, and then
Okay,
you can give me the permission to then take it from there, so you don't have to do the whole thing, but we do need to kind of get the system to understand that, cause I'm apparently not I am not able to get that access, so.
okay.
Have you reached out to Campbell Ritchie at any?
Yes, yeah, I spoke with him
He's
at the
got a certified,
ILMCT, yeah.
You're meeting with Jared on the 13th. Do you know that when we can roundtable?
Not yet, we're
I get that, but I just, like, last year, it was a lot of meetings with Jared and then kind of a quick one with us. So I'd like to be more involved in that
Okay.
process as well, and Bob would, maybe council. We did a couple of years ago, a few years ago, where we really had a big, we spent half a day in there with Jared. We really really separated out, so we were all there kind of hearing, because I got a budget with maybe adding, or like an employee, or my vehicles and things like
Yeah.
that, so, you know, just kinda wanna hear
Yeah.
what's going on, so I'd say, well, maybe Bob needs that, so I'll back off, and that way we can kind of be involved with it, so, maybe. My turn. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and again, please
Yeah, let
contact
us
me,
know.
let me know, Yvonne, how and when, and I'll come in and
Yep.
we'll do whatever we need to do.
I don't think in this environment we'll be backing off any police guy. Just my opinion.
Probably not.
Well, we'll get through it, we'll chew our way through the budget once we get there. Let me get the preliminary meeting out of the way, and then we'll set up a schedule and figure out, you know,
Yeah.
have everybody meet.
Okay.
Anything else, or we're good?
That's it?
Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll move on to public comment, so if anybody would like to, please stand up, give us your name, address, share with us anything you'd like to share.
With you. Dale Wagner, 4462 South 600 West. Thanks for recognizing I had a question, Chris. On Verigy, I did not hear the other sewer plant mentioned, only heard mention of one sewer plant. Is there a reason we're not considering the other plant for that particular project
It's going offline. That's why,
permanently?
it will, yes.
It was only supposed to be a short-term thing when we purchased it. We weren't purchasing the plant, we were purchasing the people that were using the plant. So we're bypassing that down to our sewer plant eventually.
Okay. The tabling of the vote on the bond council engagement letter. I noticed coming in, there's a notice of the RDC and an EDC meeting that same day. I don't know if that affects those meetings or not.
Shouldn't.
Just something to bring up. Also, Mr. Dryer mentioned a public notice on the website for the, was that the MS4? The website traditionally has not been a method of putting public notices out. So possibly there should be a process, or how is that done? Is there a public notice tab on our website, or is it just stuck somewhere on there? So that might be something that you all would wanna formalize. I know there are opportunities in the Indiana code to do that, to put public notices on your website. So that's something you might wanna formalize.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll say something real quick. Thomas Barclay, Commonwealth Engineers. We put together a public input survey as we amend the comprehensive plan that Jim's asked us to put on. Right now, we haven't listed for people to fill it out until July 12th. Not a lot of traction on it, so I think that the first day that it came out that you guys posted on Facebook, it saw quite a few people fill it out, but then since then, maybe a few a day, if that. So, yeah, I don't know if you wanna try it.
I've dropped it off at the library
Okay.
to give out as well.
Okay.
Some of our sales at the neighborhoods to give out there.
Okay.
They gave it out at the, chamber conference.
Chamber today.
Meeting
Okay.
today. to
I haven't
spread.
looked at it today, so I'll,
Okay.
I checked it yesterday and it hadn't jumped up a lot.
Well,
let's
I
just
know
say.
at the town booth during Summerfest, they were handing out the cards.
Yep.
Yeah, until we figured out that it wasn't on the website yet, so we would give the card out to people, and then I'd say, well,
Wade was Johnny on the spot. so.
yeah,
I tried to.
it wasn't on the website.
Okay.
So, and now the link's kinda, it's not real easy to see on
Okay.
the website, so we need to fix that.
Okay. That's something that we can always push. The end date was just
Yeah.
just throw a dart at a board kind of thing. It wasn't firm. It could be pushed out as far as we want. But yeah, so that is, yeah, if you need any assistance trying to get it populated on the website. I'm sure we can have somebody from our team look at it real quick and just help you to make it more of a clickable link that's beyond, I can barely
Yeah,
open
it's
a
something
computer,
on,
so don't
like
ask
the
me.
first thing you see.
Yeah.
Isn't there another music on Depot, or whatever it's called? The 20, so maybe that's another opportunity if we kinda, you know, if 5 or 6 of us will go and hand out cards and ask
Okay.
people at that time, hey, would you fill this out, we're looking for feedback. If we kinda, you know, maybe push that.
If Bob would give them out versus tickets, maybe, give them an option.
When is the end date on that?
It's right now, it's July 12th, so it's up for a little over, so your 2016 comprehensive plan, was, I think they had the questionnaire open for 11 days.
They had a lot of response.
It was 400 and
I was
some.
gonna say, they had a lot of response for that one.
I wouldn't say we're at 1/10 of that yet,
Uh-oh.
but,
Really?
yeah.
You extend it back a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fine.
I will light a fire.
Okay. Well, I can tell as soon as Jim posted it to the website, or to the Facebook page,
Yeah.
there was pretty considerable traction in
You
it.
have to word it and then post it to the
Yeah.
Facebook page.
So,
I'll
it's
do
there.
Light a fire,
I
Angie.
will.
Can you
Yeah,
extend it?
we
release
did
till the end
also
of the month?
posted almost every day.
Can you extend it, release till the end of the month?
The end
I
date
know you
is,
can't extend it indefinitely.
no, the end date, it's not gonna shut down on the 12th.
Okay.
That's just kind of the timeline that we gave people,
Okay,
just to
okay.
kind of,
It gives
oh,
us-
I gotta do this quickly, instead of indefinitely.
Incentive.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can
Oh, I can get people. to fill it out.
incite some interest.
And if we get to, by the time that comes along, I could print out some new ones and put a different end date on it, or not an end date, and we can kind of just go from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Any other public comments this evening? Let's move into council comments. I'll just start to my far left. Clint, you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Chris? Nope. Randy?
Nope.
Angie?
I would like to meet with the police department, if you guys could give me a few dates to work with, meet with everybody.
You wanna do one of our trainings? For a training, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, I don't have anything. So we'll move on to what is my particular favorite part of the agenda, consideration of the claims. This evening, we are requested to consider wastewater and stormwater claims dated July 6th, APV numbers 24083 through 24171. And you know, instead of me reading each one of these, how about all of the other APV numbers? There's 4 other groups, no, 5 other groups, a total of 6 as presented in our backup materials. So, and
Not just APVs 24083 through 24175.
yes,
Consideration.
those exact claim numbers. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I didn't have to go through the 6 itemizations, cause that covers them all.
That's all of them.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Angie.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion regarding the claims as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. So now it's been moved and seconded, we can open it up for discussion. Are there any questions or comments regarding any of the claims as presented in your backup materials?
So I have one.
Go right ahead.
American Pump Repair. APV number 24150. What are we doing with?
I think that was one that they actually did last year. Was that for the,
Needlers and it's down that way. That's what it says it's for.
oh, it was for Needlers.
It says entry road labor to
Oh,
work
yeah,
on Lions
yeah.
Club, Needlers, and something.
That could be the one that I think Lions Club, we had 2 before in the lift station. And I think, at Needlers, there was another object in it. And if those get sucked into our pumps, it could be $5,000 to $8,000. So we had to have them drained and they have to go down in it and get it out. We couldn't fish it out, so.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what's the purchase electric? If APBM 24149, 24152, we're purchasing electric from Duke, and it has dates, what's that about? Electric service from, I think it's 5/26 to 6/27.
That's just your light bills or Duke bills.
Just a new bill, could be the roundabout.
Could be the
They
roundabout.
changed
Okay.
the new.
Just all says purchase the electric,
I think it is the roundabout, yes.
just the
It's
electric.
a roundabout.
Those are just the new ones I didn't recognize. Okay.
All those in favor of approving the claims as presented, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries and the claims are approved. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
I second.
All those in favor of adjourning, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you again very much for attending this evening.